Hey guys, Annette here. This video is going to be about canning and canning books in particular, references for canning. I have quite a few here. There are a few I'm going to focus on a little bit more than others, but I want to kind of go through them, give you a little brief overview. Some I haven't had very long, so I can't give you like too much insight on those, just my first impressions. But nevertheless, we're going to go through these, and hopefully this video won't be tremendously long. So the first thing I'm going to start with actually is my big binder here. This is the USDA Complete Guide to Home Canning. I do believe they actually have a printed version of this that you can buy, but it's available in PDF form online for free. So I went ahead and printed out all of these. These are all the sections. I went ahead and printed out all of those and just put them in protective sleeves in a binder to have. It is very easy to look up online, and sometimes if I just want a quick, how long do I pressure can that for again? Because I haven't done it in a little while. I may just look it up on my phone or Kindle or something like that real quick. But I wanted to have a physical copy just in case, something happens, you don't have access to the internet, whether it be your router go down or service is unavailable or whatever. I like having a physical copy of things, and so I went ahead and printed it out. This just says Complete Guide to Home Canning. There's a little introduction. There is, a little overview here, and then there's an index. This is the index of each section and what's in there. So the first section here is canning, preparing fruit and fruit products. And then at the end of these chapters, I also have, let's see if I can find it. I have some stuff from different extension offices in here as well. I think this was something I found online. I don't know if it was an extension office or not, probably though. There's Penn State Extension, and it's about fruit pie fillings. So at the end of these chapters, if I had anything from extension offices, I also printed those out and put them in here too. Next section here is preparing and canning jams and jellies. And see, this is Guide 7. I put them in here how I wanted them, which was also kind of nice. It went fruit, and then I have no idea why, Guide 7 instead of being Guide, 3, because I think fruit was Guide 2, why jams and jellies would be 7. That just doesn't make sense to me, personally. So I did switch the sections around according to kind of how I wanted them in here. And then I did put a little divider. It doesn't reach past the page because they're in page protectors, but that's okay. It still kind of keeps them a little bit divided. And let me see if I can find another chapter here for you. Here is Guide 6, which is fermented foods and pickled vegetables. So I think I did that because I think I tried to keep like all the water bathing together too, which makes sense to me. Doesn't look like I have any extension office stuff in this one. Sorry if the camera's kind of shaky. And then there's canning vegetables and vegetable products, and this would be pressure canning because these are not pickled. Here's another chapter. Go preparing and canning poultry and red meats and seafoods. It's another pressure canning chapter. And then this section in the back is on drying fruits and vegetables. That was for fruit lover. This is drying fruits at home. It gives you like times and temperatures, I think. And so I think that's what this whole back section is. possibly. Yep. And this one right here, you can see is from Colorado State Extension, and it's about drying vegetables. So that's what I have in the back here. A few little like random recipes, like that's a beer mustard and a Dijon mustard. And those I just found because one year I was going to make mustards for people for Christmas. So that is my binder of the U.S. Extension Office, USDA Extension, or USDA, I don't know what they call it, it's just the USDA Complete Guide to Home Canning. Online, you go to the National Centers for Home Food Preservation, and that's the USDA site online, and that's where you find all of this stuff. So the next books, excuse me, I'm going to go into are, I think the ball books, because those, I think, tend to be the most popular. You know, Ball has a very trusted name. So it really, especially if you're a beginning canner, I would definitely go to the USDA site, like I showed you that book first. And then next, I would definitely get a Ball canning book. I wish that I had my Ball Complete book here. I do not know where it is, which kind of upsets me a little bit. I hope that I didn't lend it out to somebody and forget who I lent it out to. So I need to search my house and try and find it. And if not, I need to call around to a few friends and see if I lent it to them. But the Ball Complete book was the second book I ever got on canning, and it is a lifesaver. That book, it will pretty much tell you everything you need to know to can. I had done a lot of online research into the do's, don'ts, whys, science, all of that before I started canning, because I am one of those people who likes to be pretty prepared. You know, they say the only stupid question is like the one you don't ask. But that's not really true in my mind. I think sometimes as human beings, we're too apt to ask right away before we even look into anything ourselves. And I'm a fan of self-education. So I looked into all of canning before I ever even started, which I think is a good thing to do too. Sorry if you can't hear me, that's the train. It goes by my house pretty loud and all the windows are open because it's summer and it's hot in here. So sorry if you can't hear me. The next books I'm going to show you, like I said, are the Ball ones. So I'm going to show you the newest one because people are reviewing this book left and right. You know, for good reason. It's a fantastic book. I have only looked through it a little bit. I do have some recipes up here tagged that I'm excited to try. I really, really love the format of the sections that they have. Let's see if I can find one. They have them in like green. And they give you like multiple different ways to do one thing, which I really, really like that. Right here. This one is, what is this one? This is fruit butter in 5 easy steps. So it's nice because it's just one page. It tells you the process, but then it tells you just little tidbits on each separate fruit here. But the process to do this is all the same. So they only wrote that out once. They wrote the 5 steps down and then like basically are telling you right here what fruit you can use. And then they even have the slow cooker method, which is the method that I use for making fruit butters. Mostly I make apple butter. Sometimes I make pear butter. I may make a peach butter this year because our peach trees are pretty loaded. So I really like that aspect of this book quite a bit. There is a new section in here on, oh, I wish I could remember, on pressure canning, like Meals in a Jar. I think that's what it's called, Meals in a Jar. And I really like that because there are some really good ones. There's like meat for tacos in here. There's chicken dinner in a can. There's a few other ones. It is more focused on small batch canning, this book, versus other ball books. But really, like the pressure canning ones, you can just multiply. So if it says like this is X amount for 2-quart jars, if your canner load holds 7, just multiply it. I don't think it'd be really that hard to do that, and it's not unsafe in pressure canning to multiply the recipe. It's really not even unsafe in water bath canning. If you double or triple a jelly recipe and you're not careful, sometimes the set fails. So you'll end up with runny jam or jelly if you try to do a double batch of those. But for pressure canning, you know, as long as you're following the recipe by multiplying it, so you're making sure that it's not, you know, there's enough liquid and it's not so dense and all that, there shouldn't be any reason why you can't multiply the recipes and make a whole bunch at one time. Or you could try multiple different recipes and put them all in the canner at the same time, because most meat things take 75 minutes for pints and 90 minutes for quarts. So as long as the stuff in here had the same processing time, you could put, you know, 2 quarts of the chicken dinner in a jar and 2 quarts of the like shredded taco meat or whatever it may be until your canner was full, and then run it that way too. I don't think it's very, you know, money saving wise, like smart to make 2 quarts and run your pressure canner. I mean, you might as well at least, you know, do enough to do a canner load, which is 7 quarts. It's not, and that's not really that many jars. I mean, maybe for some people it is, but 7 quarts, especially with the fact that I share with my family, is not much. So that's the all new ball book. People have videos of like, you know, really going into depth. Noreen at Noreen's Kitchen actually did a great one going more into depth into this book. Also, I think she goes by Tulilu Preserves. She did a pretty good review of this book too. And Linda's Pantry actually as well. I believe she did one too. So people are pretty excited, I think, about this book. And the fact that there are some things in here that people thought were unsafe. And I think it was because, yes, they were considered unsafe because they were untested. And Ball has tested them and they are safe now. So there is a recipe for a banana jam. It's like banana and orange, I think, jam. And there is a recipe for a like sweet onion jam. And those are tested in here now, which is pretty exciting. So that's the all-new Ball Book of Canning and Preserving. That's the newest one out right now. And then the newest Ball Blue Book is right here. And this is out right now. It's been out for a little while. There is quite a few new recipes, I guess, from the last Ball Blue book. I never had the last one, like, previous to this one. So I can't, like, personally attest to that. That's just what I've heard. So, I picked this one up, though, because people were pretty excited about this one, too, saying that there were quite a few new recipes and stuff in there. And so I picked that up. There are some that I want to try in there, especially, I think, for the holidays. So I'm pretty excited about doing a few out of here as well. So there's that one. This is also a great one for a beginning canner. It's not so overwhelming. It's more of like a magazine style book. So I think it's not as intimidating. I think sometimes those really big canning books, somebody can just get so overwhelmed who's just starting to learn. And I'd hate for someone to get just like overwhelmed and discouraged before they've even started. So just the basic Ball Blue Book is a great starting point. Then the first book I ever got, while we're on the subject of Ball Blue Books, is this old Ball Blue Book. I don't even know the date. It's probably sometime in the 70s. It has actually some great like jam and jelly and relish and conserve and, different recipes like that I do use out of here. I do double check it with today's processing times. But everything I've double checked in here so far, I'm pretty sure has been the same amount of time. So I believe that the last updates, especially for like pressure canning, I think that was done in like the very late 80s, early 90s. And I don't think they've changed much as far as pressure canning goes since then. But you should always go by the most current USDA recommendation. So a lot of times I look at the recipes in here and I'll compare them to that USDA binder that I have just to make sure that they are safe recipes to be using. Now there are all these canning books left here still. Sorry, this video is getting kind of long. I'm trying not to be too long-winded on these books, but it's kind of hard when there's so many. There is a couple of older ones here that I want to talk about. I think that getting older books is, for me anyway, I like to see the history and the culture and the different recipes and things like that. I think you do have to be careful. Definitely like looking at the newest recommendations and comparing recipes is a good thing. But some of these old books have different recipes and then different advice and just sometimes more in them than just canning. Like this one's freezing, canning, making Christmas presents, just all kinds of things are in this. And this is the updated version of this book right here, which, they're both older, but I think I got this one first at a thrift store, and then I got this one, I think I ordered it used on Amazon, just because I liked this one so much, I wanted to see the updated version. They're both really great. I definitely recommend them. And like I said, if you're just interested in, old-fashioned preserving and canning, and a lot of these books have pickling and brining and smoking and cheese making and things like that in them too. So they're not just strictly canning books, which is kind of nice too. And then my other old one that I really like that has a lot of information in it is this Stocking Up. And I found it at the Goodwill. It was quite some time ago. Even though it has canning jars on the front, everything that is in here is not canning. There are some really great canning recipes, and especially for like jams and jellies and things like that you don't really have to worry about the safety as much on. The processing times might not be right in here. Back before they really knew better, some processing times were not as high as they needed to be, especially for like pickles and certain things. Sometimes people didn't even process them at all. They just open kettled, which means that they put, the boiling liquid in there and put the lid on and either inverted it or just left it and let it seal on its own. So it was sealed, therefore preserved, which is not, in fact, the truth. So now that we know better, we need to do better, right? So I still look at this, though, because there is a big chapter actually on cheese making in here that I'm very interested in. There is a section on fermenting. There's a section on sprouting, freezing, dehydrating. All of that is in here. And this is one that is a great resource and I really like. So if you guys see this at, a thrift store or maybe if you can find it used online, I highly recommend this one. I really, really like it. Now on to some newer, mostly fun books here. I'm going to talk about this one because I've had this one for a little while now. Canning, Pickling, and Freezing with Irma Harding. Irma Harding was not a real person. She was a made-up sale, basically like a, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to put it. She was like made to sell like refrigerators. Like she was the housewife. Irma Harding gave you advice on a lot of freezing, especially because it was to sell basically like refrigerators. There is in here like some old pictures with old refrigerators. They give you some like background history of like how she was made up and all of that. But I got this one just basically for fun. There's just pretty simple, basic recipes in here for jams and jellies and things like that. There's dilly beans, and I think there might be a carrot cake jam in here and some other fun ones. But this one I got online, and just because I like to can, and I thought like the old like 40s, 50s housewife motif of this was just very cute with all the pictures and all that. So I got it, and I've read through it, and it's a cute one to have. It's definitely not a necessity. It's not one that I'd be like, whoa, this is the one you need to get for canning, because it really isn't. But it is a fun one to just have if you're, bored, and it's a good read and just kind of fun to have around. And then food in jars. I use this one pretty frequently, actually. Preserving in small batches year-round. The batches do tend to be kind of small, and if it's smaller than I'd like, I will go ahead and I will double them. I don't recommend doubling a lot of jam recipes, though the ones in here are small enough that when I have doubled them, they have set up just fine. My personal thing is I don't usually go over about 9 cups of fruit. 9 cups is about the limit that I feel comfortable will definitely set up if I make a jam or a jelly. So if a recipe only calls for like 4 cups of fruit, I will double that and do a double batch, and it just goes by a lot faster. Some people don't recommend doubling recipes at all. They say that they won't set up or whatever, but I haven't had a problem, and I always, if I feel like it looks loose when I'm done making it, I will test the set by putting it on a cold plate from the freezer. But so far, fingers crossed, I've never had a jam or jelly fail on me. So, let's keep that streak going. Food in jars, I've used quite a few of the recipes out of here. There is a peach plum ginger jam in here that's really good. There's some like Christmassy ones that have apple and cranberry. There's like a chutney I believe I've made in here. This definitely just focuses on mostly high acid foods. I think in the back there might be recipes for like broths, like bone broth or stock or whatever you want to call it. But overall, this book is water bath canning. Which isn't a bad thing, because a lot of the pressure canning stuff isn't really recipes. A lot of pressure canning is a lot of single ingredients. But if you do want recipes for pressure canning, the new Ball book of canning I think is the one to go with, because I think those meal in a jar recipes and stuff are more what you're looking for if you want recipes for pressure canning instead of just processing times. So this is a good one. I think at least one of the recipes that I've made on this channel came out of here. I can't remember which one. Oh, it was the mulled apple cider jelly, and that came out really good. It's very spicy though, so if you don't like as much spice, you have to cut down on the spices a little bit on the recipe, but I thought it was really good. Great for the holidays. And then another one that's really, really good that I've been liking is this Amish canning cookbook. I do like this quite a bit. I haven't made many recipes out of here, but I've really looked over it quite a bit. I actually kind of like that it's in this binding type, this spiral bound binding, because it lays completely flat. So when you open it up and leave it on the counter, it's not going to close up on you, which I really like. It has quite a few pressure canning recipes. If you're very interested in pressure canning, this is one of the better ones to get to, because there are some pressure canning recipes in here. I just don't have a ton of experience with it yet, so I don't have, too much to say about it, other than I'm looking forward to using it more. And hopefully I'll be filming more canning recipes for you guys too. And so as I do that, I will try to show you what book I am using for the recipe, if I'm using a recipe. Sometimes I just use the measurements that come on the pectin directions. Most box pectins or the bulk pectin bottle come with recipes already written on them, and so sometimes I just use those instead of getting into a canning book and looking up a recipe for jam and jelly. But if it's a flavored jelly like that mulled cider one, I do look up a recipe in a book and then follow that recipe. So that's the Amish canning cookbook there. My friend Heather at the Needy Homesteader, she also has this one. She really likes it too. I think her blueberry pie filling that she made came out of this book. I think that this is the book she made the pie filling out of. And I'm going to look at it in here, and then in the USDA book that I have, I know that Penn State pie filling is in there, and maybe look in my Ball Blue book too. And I just want to compare measurements, because she said hers made like 7 quarts exactly, and so I just want to see if the measurements are the same. I'm just curious on that one. So that I'm going to try and film for you guys, making the pie filling, the blueberry pie filling. So hopefully that will be coming soon. Then this one is my most recent purchase from Costco. They possibly may still have this now in your area. It's the America's Test Kitchen Foolproof Preserving Recipes. I've been going through this one. I have some little recipes marked in here too. Let's see if I can open to one. What's this one? Apple shallot chutney. Sounds good. So I've gone through. I love the pictures in this book. It's typical America's Test Kitchen, step-by-step sort of pictures, really concise instructions. Sometimes they give you little suggestions on how to tweak things. I really like that. I love a book with pictures. I think this one has great pictures. In this one, though, there are some recipes that are not for actual canning. You make them up and put them in the refrigerator. I would say of all of the books that I've shown so far, this one has the most that don't actually get quote-unquote preserved. There is quite a few refrigerator ones in this book, so just be aware of that if you buy it. I mean, not enough that it's not worth buying, but sometimes you go and you look at a recipe and think, oh, that's so cool, and then it says, store in fridge or freezer, which isn't really the point for me for canning. Some people, it might be fine for them to put it up in a jar and put it in the fridge. Maybe they have a lot more refrigerator space than I do, because I do not. So I can, so that my things will be shelf stable. So that's the only disappointing thing so far in this book, is that, you see a recipe and you think, oh, that's so awesome. And then, you read along and it says, it has to go in the fridge or whatever. But overall, it's a good book. It was a decent price at Costco, $14.99. Not too bad for a book. So I picked that up. I picked this one right about the same time as I picked up the new Ball Complete book. So they kind of come out at the same time there. And then these three are not new. They're new to me. I bought them used online. This one, Canning for a New Generation, I have been reading through this one, and I actually love it. There are some awesome recipes in here. I am excited to use this book. I thought that I'd be pretty excited about the America's Text Kitchen and the new Ball one, which I am excited about the new Ball one, but so far reading through them, this one has me like the most excited about canning right now. She has a lot of little stories in here, which are great. And then there's just some really good recipes in here. So the Canning for a New Generation definitely has recipes that are more gourmet, more foodie recipes. And I would consider myself a foodie. I like to make pretty easy, simple meals at home, but then sometimes I like to make more complicated ones with complicated flavor profiles, and I think that that's fun too. I just don't do it all the time. But overall, I definitely would consider myself a foodie. I like good food, and I like interesting food, and I like high quality food, and I feel like this canning book gives you a lot of options if you're that foodie type person for canning, which I think is pretty cool. To make canning interesting for all different types of people, you need different types of recipes. So this one really has me pretty excited. Then the Pickled Pantry. I'd seen this one at Barnes & Noble's. Thought it was interesting. Did not want to pay that price for it. If you guys buy your books at Barnes & Noble's, nothing against you. I think it's a very cool place to hang out and look around, but their prices are a little too high for me. Sometimes I look in the bargain book area and I do buy the books in there, but full price, I can't. So I ordered this online used through Amazon. So when you buy a book used on Amazon, you pay the price of the book and then $3.99 shipping. Most of the time, I can find used books for $4 or less. I think this one may have been a little bit more. I think it was like $4.49, but I still, even with the $3.99, it was so much cheaper than new. And these books are pretty much like new. I mean, the bindings are completely smooth, no creases. The corners are still nice. So even though they're used, they're very gently used books. So the Pickled Pantry. I'm excited to start reading through this one. I want to start making some fermented pickles this year. I would like to make some sour dills, and I would like to make sauerkraut. Those are the two things that I would really actually like to make fermented. My brother, actually, for my birthday, just gave me an Amazon gift card, and I may be getting a fermenting valve thing for